Why's that?
Well, I wanted to catch a spark.
They say no one wants to hear what a kid wrote last month.
Well, I like your songs.
Who wrote this?
He did.
How about that Joan Baez, folks? Well, she's pretty.
Your songs are like an oil painting at the dentist's office.
You're kind of an asshole, Bob.
Wouldn't let you be what?
Whatever it is, they don't want me to be.
Turn the fucking music down! Hey! Get off the stage!
Hello, everyone. Today, we are going to talk about the movie, A Complete Unknown, a biographical film that tells the story of how Bob Dylan transformed from an unknown young man into a legendary singer. Bob Dylan, this name represents more than just a musician. He is the voice of an era. His songs have influenced countless people, from the civil rights movement to anti-war protests. His music is more than just melodies, it is a call for change. This film takes us back to the years 1961 to 1965, chronicling Dylan's journey from a street performer to a rising star in New York's folk scene, and ultimately to his rebellious moment at the Newport Folk Festival. Today, let's dive into this movie's story and explore why it is so significant. In 1961, a 19-year-old Bob Dylan arrived in New York with nothing but a guitar and a dream. He lived in a small, cheap apartment in Greenwich Village, making a living by performing in coffee shops and doing odd jobs. The person he wanted to meet the most was Woody Guthrie, the folk singer who used music to speak out against social injustice. But when Dylan finally found him, Woody was already bedridden in a hospital, battling a serious illness. Dylan sits by Woody's hospital bed, picking up his guitar and softly singing. Woody listens, smiles faintly, and nods approvingly. At this moment, Dylan made a decision. He wanted to follow in Woody's footsteps and use music to give a voice to his generation. Dylan started performing at folk clubs, heavily influenced by Woody Guthrie's style. At first, people barely noticed this young newcomer, until one day, he performed "Blowin' in the Wind," a song that questioned freedom and justice. Dylan stands on stage, strumming his guitar. The crowd, initially noisy, gradually quiets down as a few people begin to hum along. This song made him an overnight sensation. Record labels took notice, and he met Susie Rotolo, a young woman passionate about art. The two quickly fell in love, and Susie encouraged him to write more original songs rather than simply imitating others. Dylan and Susie walk through the park, laughing, while autumn leaves fall around them. Dylan's music was beginning to find its own voice. In a recording studio, Dylan works on a new album. The producer nods approvingly as Dylan's songs start gaining popularity among young listeners. However, as his fame grew, so did the political interpretations of his music. Dylan sits in a dimly lit cafe, overhearing people talk about him. He's the leader of the folk revolution. No, he's just a rebel. Dylan began to feel lost. He didn't want to be labeled. He simply wanted to create music. Feeling constrained by traditional folk music, he started experimenting with the electric guitar. But this idea was met with resistance from his team. In the recording studio, Dylan picks up an electric guitar for the first time. His team members exchange shocked glances. He knew that if he moved forward, he might lose the support of his old fans. But he also knew that music, at its core, is about continuous exploration. In 1965, on the stage of the Newport Folk Festival, Dylan walked up holding an electric guitar. The audience looks puzzled, whispering among themselves, "What is he doing?" As the first chords of "Maggie's Farm" rang out, some fans cheered, while others shouted in disbelief, "Traitor." Some audience members cover their ears and storm out angrily, while others raise their hands, singing along passionately. At that moment, folk and rock music parted ways. Bob Dylan was no longer just a folk music icon. After finishing his set, Dylan quietly walked off the stage, leaving behind a crowd buzzing with reactions and media controversy. Dylan disappears into the crowd as the screen fades to black. With this one performance, he shook the entire music industry. The film beautifully recreates the atmosphere of 1960s New York, using handheld cinematography and vintage filters that transport us back in time. He refused to be confined by labels, constantly evolving and pushing the boundaries of his art. The movie is not just about Dylan's musical journey, it's about an artist's struggle between commercial success and staying true to himself. Bob Dylan's life is a journey of music and freedom. He showed us that true artists don't follow trends, they create them. If you love music or want to understand an era of change, this movie is a must-watch. That's it for today's movie breakdown. See you next time.